The saddest part for me this weekend wasn't the fact that West Ham took an absolute drubbing at the hands of Crystal Palace. It was the fact that it wasn't surprising. I think if you're within West Ham circles, most of us expected it. Well, when I say expected it, wouldn't be surprised by it. I wouldn't say I was expecting it to happen. But once it started to sort of unfold, I wasn't shocked. I wasn't sort of recoiling in horror thinking, how can this be happening? It was kind of like, well, yeah, that's what I expected, actually. I can't part of me thought this would probably happen. I think that's the position that we're in now. It's almost like, I don't know about yourselves, but it's almost like I'm in a feeling of numbness to West Ham at the moment with what's going on at the club. In just that, it feels like inevitably David Moyes is going to depart the football club anyway. But it's just a lack of direction, the lack of fight. We've seen it so often this season. And this is no dig at Crystal Palace at all, but they're a lesser opposition, a team that's been fighting relegation season, and we're supposedly a side that's supposed to be fighting for European football next season. David Moyes himself said before the game, this is a must-win game. His actual words were, we're going to have to win every remaining game this season. I mean, what planet he's on to think that we'd be able to do that? But that was his actual words. We're going to have to win every game. He said that before we put out that shower on Sunday. A dreadful, dreadful performance once again from West Ham. It's been a shockingly bizarre and terribly run season from West Ham overall. It really has. And that's not just David Moyes, that's the club. And this is aimed at both, this video, at Moyes and the football club. Because they can't get away with it either. Do you know what I mean? It's like David Moyes is accountable, yes. But I do feel like a lot of the time he's getting the full blame when really the club needs to be taking some ownership here of what's gone on. David Moyes looks completely dejected and he's done. I looked at him after that game, watched those press conferences. I don't see a man that's going to be here next season at all. I actually don't see a man that wants to be here next season. I really don't. I think deep down he wants to be gone. I think he wants to go elsewhere. But that's not to say that he's a victim in all this. Far from it. In fact, I feel like he likes to play that card quite a fair bit, David Moyes. He likes to sort of portray this, as if like it's out of his hands. He's been sort of dealt this card, And I just think to myself, like, I don't agree with it. I look at him and think, well, hang on. You're the manager. You're the one that's put this team together. You've been here long enough. You oversee the transfer strategy. This is what the problem has been at West Ham for a long time, that David Moyes had such a big, strong say in recruitment, etc., that it's caused us problems because he's Divering Dave. We know that. That name isn't linked to him and tied to him for a laugh. It's there because that's what he's known for. It's known for his time at Everton. It's known for his time at Man United. It's known for his time as a manager. That's what he's like. He's very indecisive. It takes a long time. And we see it window after window, frustration of players that we miss out on because we just do not make a decision. We continually, not sure, don't know. And we continually miss out on opportunities. I know I feel like I'm sort of repeating myself when I keep saying about January, but how can you not? January is the prime example of how badly run this football club is and how badly managed the whole situation is by our manager. In the fact that we significantly weakened our squad. Knowing that we were supposed to be in a fight to be in the top 6, 7, whatever you want to call it this season, to fight for European football and try and win a trophy in the Europa League. Despite that, they still completely cock up the transfer window and somehow make the squad far weaker than what it was before we went into it. And yet he seems to play this victim card. I mean, he comes out and sort of suggesting that, he said something about the squad numbers, saying it's actually better to have a smaller squad. And then contradicts himself by saying, no, we tried to strengthen the squad. We tried, but we couldn't find... I'm just sick and tired of hearing it. We'll talk about the indecisiveness of this football club. It runs through from the top, from the very top. It runs right through this constant indecision that we've got all the time. Before going to talk about the club, let's talk about David Moyes and the situation surrounding him. As I've said, this has been a topic now that has just been rumbling on now for not just this season, the last 2 or 3, isn't it? It's been carrying on whether David Moyes would be remaining as manager of this football club. David Moyes just doesn't get it, does he? He doesn't get it with West Ham. He doesn't quite get it with the West Ham fans. And a lot of people don't. I think we're very misunderstood as not only a fan base, but as a football club. I feel like the media... and I'm going to sort of label David Moyes into this a little bit as well, because he's kind of like, this is how he kind of perceives us as well. They see West Ham as this little club, this little old club, like West Ham. I think they see West Ham as West Ham from the 90s. That's how they're looking back at it. They're looking at West Ham and going, yeah, they're trying their best. They're giving it a bit of a go. But they talk about us like David Moyes has picked us up from League Two and it's got us into the Europe, and we should be forever grateful of it, but now go back to where you belong. That's kind of how we're being portrayed. They seem to just dismiss the fact that we're one of the biggest spenders in world football. I think, in fact, in Europe, out of the last, I think it was something like 5 years. I'm guessing a little bit because I've read this not so long ago, but it was something like the last 5 years we're in the top 10 of spenders in Europe in football clubs. Okay. We've got 62,500, whatever it is, seat a stadium. We've got Jared Bowen, is England international. We just sold Declan Rice for 100 million quid, who's probably one of the best midfielders in the world. You've got Mohamed Kudus being earmarked as Mo Salah's replacement at Liverpool. You got a number 10 from Brazil. I mean, it goes on and on and on. I'm sick and tired of West Ham being sort of labelled as this sort of like tin pot football club. Because that's how it suits the narrative. That's how they're trying to sort of like play it all the time, as if David Moyes has sort of come along. By the way, I'm not knocking David Moyes for what he's done at the club. Okay, he has done a good job. I still stand by that. But what I'm saying is, like, the view of how they see the club is wrong, and David Moyes has that view. He's got this constant, you've never had it so good, but you've never had it so good. He's got a point. He's not wrong, but let's not forget that West Ham moved from Upton Park to go to London Stadium to compete in Europe, to be a top 7, top 8 football club. That was always the plan. That's why we left Upton Park, was to do that. So don't try and portray it like you've done some big, huge success story. You're just doing what was expected. And I think that seems to be the bit that gets forgotten. They scratch that bit out and they're just going, yeah, West Ham were in a relegation battle and David Moyes took them from a relegation battle and he got them into Europe. And that's true. I'm not knocking that, and well played. I'm not at all saying that didn't happen. But they're always trying to portray, as I say, they're treating West Ham like as if we're a bit of a Luton town. As if like Moyes has gone in there and got Luton into Europe, and you go, bloody hell, they've done really well. That'd be a slightly different angle then. Then you could understand it more. Them saying, why would you want to get rid of him? He's done really well for you, and where would you really expect to be going? But they don't seem to understand that West Ham have got more. Well, certainly within West Ham fans and the club should have ambition to do well and to compete. It's really frustrating, and they're not understanding it. And David Moyes has never got it. Penny's never dropped for him. He doesn't ever really seem to acknowledge the fact that West Ham is a big, big club, and we want to do well, and we want to be competing, and that's that. When I say what, that is what is expected. That's what fans expect. That's what should be expected when you take the job on at West Ham. I don't like the notion that he feels like he's overachieving. He hasn't overachieved. Don't get me wrong. I'm grateful for the fact that we've got into Europe for 3 successive seasons. I'm grateful for the fact that we've got a trophy. I am. I'm not going to pretend that it doesn't mean anything. It means the world. But the reason it means the world is because we've not experienced it. But this, as I said, the reason we've not experienced it is because we've moved to experience it. We went from a ground, we moved to a bigger ground, and it broke our hearts to leave Upton Park. But the promise was, yes, you're going to leave that, but we're going to be able to compete with the top sides, and we're going to be going for things. And that's so. Don't now then go back on it and try and spin it like, David Moyes has done so bloody well, you're so lucky. I don't like that. And that's where what we get from the media, isn't it? That's the view we continue to get in, left, right, and centre from every pundit in the world, that we should be so grateful. And as I said, I am grateful for David Moyes for what he's done, but at the same time, I don't want it to keep acting like he's overachieved, because I don't think he has. I think he's just done the job that was expected, done a good job, and he has done a good job. But it's time for a change. But I'll tell you what, though, as much as it frustrates me with David Moyes, like it does with many people, you know, he is a walking contradiction, let's be honest, and incredibly frustrating to listen to at times. And his decision-making, I mean, I cannot fathom the decisions, the substitutes at times. Calvin Phillips and Danny Ings, you know, when you've got young lads on the bench, just bring them on, David. Just bring them on. When are you ever going to get that in your head that would actually do you a favour? Like, fans actually would go, well played, David. We want to see the Academy boys given a go. He just doesn't seem to ever get it, does he? It reminds me of the Allardyce time. And then, all right, David Moyes isn't as bad as Sam Allardyce. I couldn't stand Sam Allardyce. I still can't stand the bloke. Can't stand his face. Honestly, can't stand the looking at him. Fat knob. I mean, the way he bangs on about recently, when there's no West Ham way, there's no such thing as that. They were just, you know, horrible, snidey bloke. So I don't want to ever think that David Moyes falls in that category, because I don't believe David Moyes falls into the Allardyce category at all. But the club can't keep getting away with it either. The club can't escape this. As much as the frustration, and it will fall on David Moyes. David Moyes will lose his job. Well, we won't be getting a new contract. I'm sure of that now. I'm sure of it now. But the club need to do something. And this is where I get really frustrated with the football club in general, because I feel like West Ham is just so indecisive with everything. Everything we do seems to be an indecision. Like, they never seem to get to the bottom of anything. Everything just hangs all the time. We never get it resolved. Ownership. What's going on with this 25% that's for sale? What's going on with that? Are we going to get a new owner? Are we going to get a new investor? Don't know. What's going on with the stadium naming rights? Question mark over that. Are we going to get that? Is that going to be sorted out now? Because that was supposed to be Allianz, wasn't it? They're going to buy it. Going to get. How long ago was that now? 6 months, a year ago. What's going on with Ben Johnson's contract? Don't know. What's going on with the new manager? Don't know. Never ever. What's going on with the new training ground? What's going on with the stadium? What's going on with the stadium? Are we gonna revamp it? We're gonna do that? Don't know. Everything about this club, there's never a decision. It's just constant question marks hanging over this football club all the time. And even down to now, this is the point now when you think to yourself, right, if the club don't want to keep David Moyes, then announce it. Just announce it. Go and speak to David Moyes. Say, Dave, we're not keeping you on. We're going to make the change. Announce it. Come to the press and say, right, David Moyes will be leaving at the end of the season. We thank him for absolutely everything. And give that man a chance to say goodbye to the fans. Give him the chance to say, look, I've been here a few years, got you your trophy. I'm really sorry it didn't work out last year, but this club's going to go places, and I wish you all the very best. And let him go out with his head held high. Why can't the club do that? No. We're going to wait until the end of the season to make a decision. No, because you just can't make a decision. Seem incapable of making a decision. Seem continual. We've got to ponder, we've got to think about it. And you see it in our business dealings. You see it every transfer window. The dilly-dallying. And this goes way back, hasn't it? It goes on and on and on. It's not just recent. It's years we've had this constant indecisiveness in everything that we do. Just a shambles. It really is. It's a real shame that it's come down to this point. And it's sad, actually. It's sad that we've got a manager that ultimately has done pretty well for West Ham, really. Come in and done what he's done over the last few years. You know, we've had some good moments. Yeah, we've had some crappy ones as well. But ultimately, it's been pretty good as well. We've had some really, special memories. Let's be frank, haven't we? It's been amazing. Some of the things we've seen, in Europe has been fantastic. And we've had some couple of good league runs as well. But you look at David Moyes now, he looks a dejected man. He looks a man that's fed up, tired, and needing of a change. And it's really sad to see it, actually. I don't like to see that of him. But at the same time, he can't as well be seen as someone that's blameless in the situation, because he's accountable. He's the manager at the end of the day. And some of his decision-making is just absolutely shocking, horrendous. But I don't like the way the club are handling things as well. I really don't. I think that's something that's... The spotlight for me is on them, not David Moyes. Forget David Moyes now. Forget that. Do something. Do something, make some decisions and be indecisive and give the club some steer and direction rather than this constant shrugging your shoulders. Not quite sure. We're going to wait and see. We're not quite sure. What are you doing with Soufal's contract? Not quite sure. We're going to wait and see. We're not quite sure. Why? Why are you not sure? Do you know what I mean? Why are you not sure? Why are you always having to wait and make any decisions? Everything just feels like it's just kicking down the road. Not almost like frightened to make a decision. And I know people that work within the club. I know people that work within the academy, right? And they tell me the same thing. It's just, the academy's the same in terms of, they identify players. I don't know. I can't remember the name of the player. I'm not going to mention. I can't say it anyway. But they were talking about. I was told about a player that we identified. Went to the club and said, "Look, we want to make an offer. I think it was something like 200 grand or 300 grand. We're going to make an offer. A very up and coming, highly regarded star for the future. Go for it. And not sure. Tottenham came in, taken. And that's it. Gone. Because we've dilly-dallied, didn't make a decision. And I know the people that, and by the way, these people that work with the club are West Ham fans. Love the club. And even they're frustrated because of the constant decision, decisiveness and the indecisions that are surrounding the club at the moment. And you just see it all the time. We're seeing it all the time. And David Moyes is just another example of it. It's really frustrating time for the moment for me, a West Ham fan, and I'm sure you'll join me and feel the same. I just can't wait to see back of the season now. I mean, by the way, Europe's gone. I know I've said ages ago when I had 60 points was the target. Well, that's impossible now. We're not going to get that, and look, Europe's gone for me now. No, there'll be no European football next season, which makes our life very tough because we've got to try and keep hold of players, which isn't easy. We haven't got European football. Got to try and convince someone like Mohamed Kudus to stay. It's not going to be easy, is it? When you can't offer any European football, we've got to try and bring in new young players to try and say, come to West Ham. Well, when you've got someone like Morgan Gibbs-White, for instance, we want to go for Morgan Gibbs-White. Well, he's got us or Tottenham. Well, Tottenham could be in the Champions League. That's us out then, isn't it? So, I mean, it's bad situation we're in. And I wasn't, as I say, wasn't surprised by the result. Wasn't surprised by the performance at all. Really wasn't. We've had some good times under David Moyes, we have, but it's over. It really is over. And it's about time the club pulled their bloody fingers out and started making some decisions and announce it and get on the front foot for once.